Credit industry groups are suing over a federal ban on medical debt and credit reports. Now, the Consumer Data Industry Association and Cornerstone Credit Union League filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration for its recent rule to ban medical debt from credit reports. Now, this move would potentially eliminate $49 billion of medical debt for nearly 15 million consumers. The group says the new rule violates the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which requires agencies to report medical debt. Chief Legal Analyst Clive Rhodes is here to be able to weigh in on this lawsuit. So I have to ask you first, this argument that it violates the Fair Credit Reporting Act, let me get your thoughts.
Well, if they make the rules, it won't be a violation. I mean, the Fair Credit Reporting Act is something that was enacted by Congress, but Congress has given the authority of protecting consumers to the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau. And so in this situation, if they make a rulemaking process, which they've done, they open it up for public debate, for public forum, for the comment section is what they're supposed to allow. That portion has already happened. And now they're saying this is the rule that's going to take place once it's online and implemented, I should say, for 90 days. Then this is the rule. I'm not sure how they are alleging that it violates. I mean, agencies are responsible for governing and for giving and creating rules. That is what regulatory agencies do. But there has been an attack on regulatory agencies from the incoming administration. So I see that may be problematic for them, but also from companies that regulations are being inflicted upon. And so a company like TransUnion, like Equifax, like all of the other Experian and the folks that are representing the debt collection companies, this attacks directly to their bottom line, to their business. And so, yes, they would want to see this not become a rule, because now those folks that would have to list this as on your credit, now they won't have to be. So the consumer saves, but in their business, in their eyes, this affects them for sure.
I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. We are living in hard times, and I've heard people say, I pay credit affecting bills first. So if it's not on your credit report, you know, what is your incentive to pay your bill? Because you still have to pay this debt. This debt isn't being wiped off. It's just not going to be on your credit report, correct?
The debt is definitely not wiped off, but to your point, if someone is saying, I pay credit reporting debts first, they understand that something like this will take an arrow out of the debt collecting company's wheelhouse. If I don't now have this hanging over your head that, hey, if you don't pay this, it can show up on your credit report, thus lowering your credit score. Now you may not have an incentive to want to pay this debt. I mean, there are typically other factors that go into your desire to want to pay or not pay a debt. But if the overarching one is, I want to keep my credit score high, and they know they can hang that over you, they estimate that there's $59 billion in debt that's going to be potentially removed from people's credit in this situation. And they're saying that this will raise your credit score about 20 to 30 points. And so on the other side, if this is something that was lowering your credit score by 20 to 30 points, and you had this $59 billion hanging over you individually across the country, this is something that now is going to get needed relief to consumers.
So let me ask you real quick, what are the red flags that you see with this whole thing playing out?
That it won't last long. I mean, this is something as a last-ditch effort for this administration, but these types of rulemaking process goes from administration to administration. And so there's a window where the next administration will have an opportunity to roll this back. I see that the Trump administration will likely roll something like this back. And even if he doesn't, the new incoming chair of that administrative agency will then decide, you know what, we'll come up with a new rulemaking process. They got 4 years to work on it. They'll have an opportunity for it to be an open session, for you to have a public comment. During that public comment, they'll make the changes and it can go right back to where it was. What I would say is if this was something the Biden administration wanted to do, they should have done it probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Clive Rhodes, thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate you weighing in on that.